feel like when I'm trying to quit smoking, I'm also trying to do everything else. Working out, reading, writing, etc., etc. But I feel burnout at the end of the day and I want to smoke or vape again. Any tips? Fortunately for you, as someone who personally struggled with addiction to nicotine, THC, energy drinks, and adult media content, I have 5 tips when it comes to avoiding this common mistake that people make when first quitting smoking or quitting vaping. If you enjoy the content in today's video, be sure to check out the pinned comment or the video description to learn more about our products designed to help people quit and our free and paid addiction mindset recovery coaching programs and resources. Tip number 1 to avoid this common problem that people face is remember, you have one goal when you first quit smoking or you quit vaping. And that singular goal is to not smoke or not vape. So although I'm a huge fan of setting up other goals, although I'm a huge fan of staying busy and staying active and staying occupied when you first quit, you have one thing that you need to do. You have one thing that you need to focus on. Minimally, you have one thing for the first 2 weeks, and that is simply not smoking weed or not vaping. You might have set a goal to work out every day. You might have set a goal to journal more or read more. You might have set a goal to meditate. None of that matters if you smoke weed, because not smoking weed, not vaping in this case, is your primary area of focus. So if you feel overwhelmed by quitting because of all the various goals that you've set for yourself and all the various expectations that you've set for yourself, reduce that down to one goal. Reduce that down to one expectation. That goal and that expectation being don't smoke weed, don't vape, come hell or high water. There's one thing that you have to do. That's it. Everything else can come and follow. Tip number 2, you're feeling fatigued because you're going through a process of detox and withdrawal. Remember, both physically and psychologically, this process of weed detox and withdrawal is quite draining on a lot of people. Your body's processing years of emotions, and it's processing a lot of drug out of your body, your liver, your kidneys, your gut, your muscles, your skin. Everything is being taxed right now. Not to mention the burden of the cravings that you're most likely dealing with somewhere within the first few months or few weeks of quitting, especially the first few days. When it comes to early on in the quitting process, although I like exercising, although I like journaling and all that fun stuff, it's probably best to treat the first 2 weeks sort of like you have the flu. You don't want to set too many expectations for yourself. You don't want to try and push it too much because your body's already working super hard to process this drug out of your system and help you recover in the most efficient way possible. The last thing you want to do is go slam the weights a ton or go overtax yourself mentally, because all of that energy right now is being used to kill, not to fight, to kill this addiction. And in the process of this addiction's death, it's letting you know, you're feeling it, that this thing is dying. And that's okay. It's something to be celebrated. But remember, you're tired because you're going through detox and withdrawal. It makes sense. Would you take someone who's going through active heroin withdrawal or active alcohol withdrawal and tell them, hey, get to the gym every day and meditate and start working on your business and go run a marathon? Of course not. You'd be like, this person is sick. They need rest. It's no different when it comes to weed or nicotine. Society just treats it very, very differently. And I'm not saying weed or nicotine is like heroin withdrawal. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying society doesn't view these things as that taxing. And for a lot of people, they are extremely taxing. Now, I'll say a quick caveat. I understand if you have a job. I understand if you have a family. Not everyone can take 2 weeks and pretend like they have the flu. I get that. But don't let that be an excuse for you not to quit. Tip number 3 to this individual, realize that Rome was not built in a day. One of my favorite quotes, people often overestimate what they can do in a day, but they dramatically underestimate what they can do in a year. When you first quit a drug, it's like your mind is unlocked and you're going to see all these different things that you want to work on, all these different things that you want to improve. It becomes very fatiguing and very overwhelming if we try and tackle all of those things at once while we're actively going through drug detox and withdrawal. Now is not really the time to take on every problem that's been created in your life. And you might have some really big problems if you've been facing active addiction to nicotine or cannabis for a prolonged period of time. Start to drop back your expectations of all the things that you're going to do, because there's only one thing you need to do. That's not smoke. And then what I would recommend doing is picking one thing. Is it exercise? Is it reading? Is it writing? I would recommend picking one thing that in some way, shape, or form is going to move the needle forward in your life. For me, when I quit, my one thing became making social media content. It started with my chiropractic offices. Then it turned into addiction recovery coaching, getting better at building social media, which then turned into a business, which now turned into a supplement company that helps people quit with the supplements that we design. You can learn more in the pinned comment or the video description. But pick one thing that you're passionate about or that you can get interested in, and then just start there. Everything else can come with time. Tip number 4, you have to build a tolerance when it comes to doing all this stuff. If you've been struggling with weed addiction or nicotine addiction for a prolonged period of time, chances are your day hasn't yet been maximized when it comes to the workload or when it comes to the physical load or the psychological load that you're looking to take on. I spent a lot of time high just scrolling social media, scrolling adult media, not doing a lot with myself in my free time. I had to build a tolerance for constantly being busy, for constantly being active, for taking on all these new ventures throughout my course of recovery and quitting drugs. So understand, you're going from smoking weed and maybe not doing a lot. Some people are super active throughout their addiction. So this point doesn't apply to everyone, but maybe you weren't. And now you're trying to cram a full day when just a few days ago, you were only utilizing 25% of your day. So you build a tolerance to taking on more stuff so you don't get fatigued by choosing one of those things, implementing them slowly, and then building up over time. Right. Tip number 5. There comes a point in everyone's addiction when you cannot outwork the addiction. And addiction understands this deeply. This is one of the key ways that it manipulates people into relapse. You can journal all you want. You can meditate all you want. You can do coaching calls all you want. You can watch as many motivational and inspirational YouTube videos all you want. You can pray and you can work with a therapist and you can chew as much of our gum that helps to reduce cravings as much as you want. But at the end of the day, it also takes the edge off of the brain fog and some of the other withdrawal symptoms as a disclaimer, but that's not an FDA-approved comment, by the way. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to sit with the addiction. You can't outwork it. You can't outrun it. You can't outthink it. You can't out-physicality it. You can't. So there comes a point at the end of the day, especially early on in this process, where you're just going to find yourself bored, frustrated, irritable, angry, stressed, sad, whatever the emotion is that comes along with it, where you just have to sit there and say, okay, this is what I'm going through. I did all the other stuff. I did everything I could do today. Journaled, I wrote, I meditated, I organized everything. There comes a point where you just have to sit with it. And once you get used to sitting with it, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 14 days, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, it goes away. It goes away. But you can't outrun it. And I think what's happening here is that you're trying to outwork and outperform the addiction, which you can't do. That's then leading to all this fatigue and burnout because you don't have a tolerance for taking on all these things during the day. You're also actively going through detox and withdrawal, so you're only performing at, 25, 50% of your actual capabilities. And you're trying to do all this day one. You're trying to build Rome day one, overestimating what you can do in a day and underestimating what you can do in a year, when this whole time, all you need to do is have one goal, and that's not smoke weed. If you do that, you don't smoke, you don't vape, you're winning. You're winning. Now, if you enjoyed this, if you liked the breakdown, this is what I do with people one-on-one. You can learn more about our one-on-one coaching programs. We have our Kick It, Crave Less Chewing Gum supplements. Check this out. We're getting rave feedback. We're on to our second batch already. Or just follow me into the next video where I teach you a little bit more about how to quit smoking weed and how to quit vaping. See you soon.